There was only one high school that was Parker.
Okay.
But Ulma, which had been white, had now become black. But it was only a 2-year high school. And so everybody on the south side would go to Ulma for 2 years. And for the last 2 years of high school, everybody from everywhere would come to Parker.
And you said Ulma had been a white school.
Yes.
Had it been a white junior high school, elementary school, or do you remember?
I don't know. I really don't know. I know it was a white school.
Right.
But then it became a black 2-year high school.
And then you went from Ulma to Parker.
Right.
And what was that like?
It was just not a new world, but there were more people from everywhere. And some you never did get to know. 30 years later, I went to a class reunion. My wife said to me, look like you all didn't know each other. I said, well, we don't know each other now. And frankly, we didn't know each other then. It was too many. It was probably the largest high school in the world. They had 5,000 students, which made it the largest black high school in the world.
That's where it has been termed the largest Negro high school in the world.
In the world. I don't know how that was so that. But anyway, I was thrown into that, and somehow I became more aggressive and assertive in high school than in elementary school. I was always shy and sort of a throne, but in high school the shyness shut down, and I started getting aggressive politically and other things.
What extracurricular activities were you involved in?
I was never into band or football, believe it or not, but I didn't know I played football. No, I was always on the student council. I was a leader of that.
You was a political leader.
A political leader.
Okay.
Until the principal called me one day in office, my senior year, and he told me that he didn't like my militant attitude. I never heard the word militant. And I've been trying so hard to impress the principal, who was new.
Was that Johnson?
Johnson. Told me he didn't like my militant attitude.
And what was he referring to? How did you interpret?
I was a member of the High Y, remember the choir. The High Y was the kind of thing I was involved in. And that was a protest or a boycott against the teacher who was over the High Y. And I was sort of accused of leading.
Was it an unfounded accusation?
We didn't think so. I don't even remember what it was now. But we decided we were going to protest and boycott. And I think the faculty member had gone to the principal and told him that we had, pulled a strike. And he called me and he was angry, told me, I don't like your militant attitude. Ooh, that hurt my heart, because I didn't know what it was. So, I entered the oratorical contest and the choir, and all of this was part of, far removed from the, John Porter of elementary school.
How did this period of living in Birmingham impact upon your life as the way that you would view your future and view your world?
As I indicated earlier, my childhood was a happy childhood in that we were provided for and was never in dire need, never had a surplus, but most was so. And my father always told me how to approach white people, never with my hat on, always say yes, sir. And this is how things are. So with a kind of acceptance, I was not fighting against this at any point, because I wasn't angry about it. I thought it was just a par of course. So as I grew older, I felt more and more unfairness. I was sensitive to the segregation of the buses. The thing that really brought it into focus, and when I started working in my senior year in high school, everybody on the job was Mr. and Mrs., even the young kids. But I was always John to everybody. Nobody explained to me why, but I just knew this was not right. And what I would do my junior, senior year in high school, I developed my own private protest against these inequities that nobody knew about. Like I made up my mind, I would never say yes, sir, to a white man. And he would come in and says, John, did you see the book that was on my desk? And I would say, well, let me see. I think I saw it over, always avoiding saying yes, sir.
And this was conscious.
Yes. Oh, I knew that it was wrong for everybody, even the folk my age, to be Mr. and Mrs. and I was first name. So I decided what I would do. I just wouldn't ever say yes, sir to nobody. You know, and interesting that I found out years later that the man who was my boss knew exactly what I was doing.
Is that right?
And didn't fire me. I can always love it because he didn't fire me, but I made a conscious effort never to say yes, sir, to a white man.
You being the younger of the children, what was the relationship, what kind of relationship did you have with your brother and sister?
A good relationship, as childhood relationships go. But my brother didn't go to college, my sister didn't go to college. And once I went to college, it sort of set me over in another league. Now, we have good rapport now and everything, but from the time I went to college, I sort of began to live in another world.
How do you mean?
My interest was not that interest was not my interest. It just sort of gave us...
Would you say that you were growing away from them?
Separated only out of interest.
Okay.
You know, but still a closeness, and we were the kind of family, it was a small family, yet kind of large, that we were still family. I never sensed for a moment that my brother was envious of me. And the reason why I know that is my brother was a heavy drinker in those days. And I would come home on weekends, and he would want me to go to the club with him. Well, I didn't want to go to clubs. You know, that was his thing. But I would go. And he would always introduce me, hey, I want you to meet my college brother. And, you know,
he was proud of...
Yes, even though he was intoxicated, he expressed pride, which I said, it must have been genuine and real, because he did it for so long. He wanted to present me to everybody, and always did it by letting them know this is my college brother.
How much older was he?
2, 3 years at the most, very much the same age.
What was your transition like then from high school to college? You went off to Alabama State, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was that transition like?
When I first graduated, my father was quite poor. Couldn't go to college. So I graduated in January. We had 2 classes graduating every year, but not 2. We had about 8 to 10 classes. And you either graduated in May or in December. So I didn't graduate. I did graduate in January on time. I was the youngest in the class. But in May, I couldn't go off because I was summer school, etc. They couldn't go the next year because I really hadn't planned to go that early. So I got a job working. And the thing that really turned me around or got me going, first of all, I'd chosen friends to run with who were all college-bound kids from families more affluent than mine. So when I woke up and saw them going to college, I really, you know, and I think by being the right people who was college-bound, it wasn't counselors, because I mean, it was my peers, the very people I was running with. I looked up and they were on their way to college, so I just grabbed my stuff and started running too. So I was inspired more by my peers than I was by faculty members, you know, who really didn't say much to me about college.
Right.
Yeah.
Why did you decide on Alabama State?
It was cheap. Yes. I wanted to go to Talladega, but people who went to Talladega was the doctors, daughters and sons of doctors and lawyers, and so I wanted to go to. It was cheaper, so I went to Alabama State.